Live. You're listening to Live with Men, the podcast.
Yeah, so this is Men, the podcast. What's up? Another session with amazing people on a very, very special occasion today, yeah? Ila sifa kubwa sana zimeendebwa na Jones Mrusha and The Ridge at The Ridge Cafe, ambapo this is where we actually recording our podcast today. So they were kind enough kutuambia, you know what, guys, today why don't you just come here na kuja kurecord hapa kwetu. So thank you for that. And just to plug this place, I think they have the best coffee in town. Honestly, wanapatikana Chole Plaza. Yeah, that guy over there is saying yes. So thank you. Facts only. Facts. I think they have the best coffee in town. Wanapatikana Chole Plaza. Ukifika tu hapa chini ulizia The Ridge, Google Map will get you here. You know, and it's a working space. So a lot of people come here to do their stuff as well. Good internet, na kila kitu, and I love their orange juice. You know, and their breakfast too. So this is not a paid ad. I am just returning you favor kwa Jones kuwa mkarimu enough na kuturuhusu kuja kurekodi a podcast over here. So shout out to you, Jones. Yeah, so this is Men, the podcast. Remember, unaweza kutupata on Twitter @Men the podcast and on Instagram @Men the podcast and on Facebook as well. Where tunachofanya sisi ambacho tunafanya kwa ujumla really ni kujaribu kuzungumza mambo ya kiume na wanaume, lakini focus yetu kubwa zaidi ikiwa tumejikita zaidi kwenye swala zima la mental health. So yeah, shout out kwa kila mtu ambaye anatusikiliza leo hii. Nadia, what's good?
Everything's good.
Everything is good. You mean it? Oh, this is something about nasema ili audience wajue.
No, actually, things are good.
Things are good. Nothing to complain.
Nothing to
A lot of things to be grateful for.
Yes, always.
Silver linings.
Yes.
Lemons and lemonades. You know, it's how you see things. So perspective is really
key.
nice. It's key.
Yeah.
So that's Nadia, our resident psychologist. And I still think it's fancy saying you're a resident psychologist. It is fancy. It's bougie. It's...
Psychologist is one thing, but resident psychologist.
Resident psychologist. Nani mwingine Tanzania has their own resident psychologist on a damn podcast.
Exactly.
You can only find it here on Men, the podcast. You know? So yeah, kama nataka ku reach out kwa Nadia, as I always say, ni Mind Matters TZ on Twitter and on Instagram. And then there's a link kwenye bio which will directly itakupeleka kwenye website yake, and you can book sessions there, and then you can find out more and more about the things ambavyo Nadia anafanya. And by the way, just so you know, we are all since tumefika episode 50 tunaenda 51 and above, we always say Nadia is a bro by association.
Yes.
You know, chama cha wanaume kimempitisha.
Watch out.
There's Dawn. Namna gani she's writing for us, brother. So we appreciate you, my man. We do. We just fist pumped.
I wish there was a live stream of this one.
The full are in here.
Things we do.
So yeah, that guy who msikia bwana is Henry Sondo. Yeah. So Henry does a lot of things. Henry's a lawyer. They also host, I've said this before, I think I said it on Twitter. I've told him and the other guy, Ben Orden, shout out to Ben Orden, to connect on episode number 41, Finding Your Purpose, Finding My Purpose, Your Purpose, My Purpose, Finding the Purpose, whatever. But it's episode number 41. So we had Ben Orden there. So Henry Sondo and Ben Orden, they host one of the best podcasts from Tanzania. Actually, no, one of the best podcasts ever. I just think across.
Keep going.
In what if we keep it real?
Keep going.
And these brothers do keep things real, yo.
Yeah.
Like the conversations are amazing, and I feel like, kama hujasikiliza, you're missing out on a lot of things, man. You're missing out on a lot of things, and as a man, I relate to a lot of your conversations. I don't know if it's the patriarch in me or the patriarch in you guys. And sometimes I feel like, yeah, they are talking to me right there. And I know some ladies are more meskilize, they also give the same feedback. You know, so kudos to you, man. You guys are doing amazing stuff, man.
Thank
amazing
you so much.
stuff. I just think, and honestly, if umesikiza the episode, whatever it is that we're going to talk about, after that, please go check out What If We Keep It Real. I know it's on Spotify, it's on
every podcast platform.
It's on every podcast platform. Matter of fact, ukiniuliza, I'll share the link. I'll share the link. It's dope. I love it. I even know my favorite episodes. Yeah, I know my favorite.
I'm pretty sure
episodes.
I know which ones.
But then I share that on Twitter too.
Right.
But yeah, that's the power of. And somebody once told us, Kwamba, a conversation had is a life saved.
No, most definitely.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
And for us about tunafanya podcast, really, I think the more we do this, the more we understand that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we've had issues ambazo even me and Nadia, you're like, are really people gonna relate to this? Or is it relevant? And then you are amazed by the feedback that you're getting from the and it's just amazing, man. So you guys are doing God's work. So kudos to you and Ben for doing that, man. Just
Thank
keep
you,
pushing.
man. Glory to God. Okay.
Yeah, glory to God indeed. So yes, now back to what ambacho nataka kuzungumzia leo. This is more like an extension to something that. So we are recording this episode today is on the 23rd. It is on 23rd.
The question felt like an
April.
exam, but I was really close to failing.
Mental status exam. What's
So we are
today's
recording.
date?
Yeah, we are recording this episode on the 23rd of April.
Right.
So 2 weeks before. 2 weeks before? Yeah, 2 weeks before this, I was invited to this session ambayo inaitwa Broad Talk.
Right.
Ambayo ilikomendelewa na Da Shepherds. So shout out to Da Shepherds kwa kuandaa hiyo conversation. But I invited Nadia for reasons ambazo zilikuwa nje ya uwezo wake. She couldn't make it. But yeah, so it was a session ambayo I was the panelist. Princely Glorious ambaye amekuwa featured on a couple of episodes was there, and Ben Oden was there too. And really the conversation was about men and insecurities. You know, like as men, how do we address and face and deal with our insecurities? And a lot of things came up, you know, from that discussion. So for me, I was like, okay, let's do. I think it's only fair. I mean, we've talked about it on a couple of episodes, me and Nadia, but not really as a topic, you know. And we always talk, you know, fighting insecurities. This is just because of insecurities. So I figured like it would be really, really good if you come down now na kujaribu unpack that, because for some people they don't even understand tunapozungumzia insecurities nazungumzia nini. Then how do you expect this person now baadaye aweze kwenda kukaa na kudeal nayo?
Right.
You know, it's just I was just surprised, you know, na conversation ilivyokuwa. And also it can humble me kwamba my understanding about this issue is very, very limited. Well, I thought kwamba I knew it all and I'm good na nini. From that conversation kanifanya hata mimi niweze kugundua insecurity. Nilikuwa nazijua lakini nikagundua na nyingine ambazo I haven't dealt with or I thought I'm cool with, you know, those kind of things. So tukasema tukasema kwamba it's only fair, let's have this conversation. And who better than Henry Sondo to have him here with us? God damn it.
Who better to have than the resident psychologist?
Our resident psychologist, Broad Association.
Yeah.
So that is what we are trying to unpack on today's episode, really. Kujaribu kuelewa insecurities kwa wanaume ni nini, zinatokana na nini, effect yake ni nini, how do we deal with those, how do we address those, and do they make us less of men because na vitu kama hivyo, you know. So maybe for more like I wouldn't call it a question, but more like an opening understanding. So when you talk about insecurity, what's your understanding in kwako wewe, what does it mean really? Mtakwambia ukisikia neno insecurity in this context ya wanaume na mental health.
First of all, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming through.
And I tried to be cocky and I couldn't when you're trying to praise the podcast, but truly thank you. Now back to the question. What is insecurity? Let's simplify it. To me, I think insecurity is just a lack of security. Let's not just go too deep into it. It's just a lack of security. If you're not secure about something, then you're definitely insecure about it. And that covers a wide spectrum. You know, could be you as a man, could be your way of thinking, could be your perspective, could be your relationship, could be your status, could be whatever it is. When you're not secure in something, I think then you tend to place yourself in a position where you think that either you're unworthy or less than. So I'm a big proponent of, most of the times insecurity is, we form our own insecurities.
We form
our own insecurities.
As in sisi wenyewe.
Sisi wenyewe.
Sio jamii inayotuzunguka.
They have a
Or
part.
by we where
They have a part, because I don't like shifting or moving power from yourself, because then that makes you weak.
that's powerful.
Right? And I think a lot of us like to lay blame on people. It's because they did this, because they did this. It is because he spoke down to me.
Wow.
But no matter what happens, you have to take in the information. You have to process it, you have to accept it, and you have to tell yourself and create this world for yourself. So you always have a part to play in everything you do and who you do become. So I think in brief, yeah, insecurity is just where there's a lack of security. Not, that's a logical answer. Not a scientific
In a
one.
nutshell.
In a nutshell.
I hate when people do that, and I do that too. Nadia, you have the same take.
Yeah, it's just a sense of not being good enough, which is basically, feeling insecure about something, right? Feeling the insecurities. It's basically one, simply because perhaps you be insecure about your relationship. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're insecure at your workplace or your family relationships. It doesn't cut across everywhere, right? And it comes from this sense of I'm not good enough in this situation. I'm not good enough for this person. I'm not good enough. That tends to give rise to the insecurities.
So my question is, before we tap dance on statement ambayo ongea Henry, is how do we get to be insecure? There's always a reason behind that, I'd like to think.
Well, there's always a roadmap, at least for us, like with us, how we think, psychologists. We look at if you practice traditionally, we look at your childhood, your upbringing, what happened then, because those are our formative years.
Right.
A lot of who we are, our personality develops throughout. I think by the time we're 25, that's when solid. It's concrete. Whatever you have is what you have.
Paul and Michael.
But the foundation is laid between 0 to 3. Those are the most important, crucial years. So how we perceive ourselves, and I liked what Henry said, that it's mainly our perception. Mimi Nadia, information haichukuaje. Michael akiniambia, Nadia, leo umependeza. Labda mimi from my childhood sijawahi kuwa praised. And so I take that with a pinch of salt, like, what does Michael want from me? Right? Instead of taking it in and saying, okay, yeah, I look good today. Right? So it's really not what you said or what the external environment inaniletea, lakini ni mimi kwenye akili yangu, how do I unpack and I digest that information that's coming in? Yeah, so almost always insecurities or how we perceive the world comes from the template we have of the world. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. Also from our experiences, because it's not just all about our childhood experiences and our foundational years. Lakini, tumepitia nini? Tume-experience nini? What type of people have we encountered?
Right.
What interactions we have had, right? Vyote hivyo vinachangia. Also, our self-evaluation. How do I evaluate myself? My competence. How competent do I feel? Right? Na ndio maana tunasema inakuwa inabadilika, ina vary from domain to domain. I might be so competent and comfortable in my work, professional life, because I have my degrees, they're up on my wall, I know what I'm doing, I have all my theories, I have all my concepts, kila kitu is solid. But I'm feeling insecure in relationships. Because perhaps in that domain, I've not had the best, experiences. So inachangia, it was sio tu our childhood, lakini that is the place where the foundation is laid. That gives us the tools to perceive the world.
I'm backing to what Henry said. Because I like what you say about you will love to, the importance of not handing out your power.
That is
kwa wengine.
That is important.
That is super important, and I feel like it's one of the ways I don't know if there's any other way that you can actually fight your insecurities. Probably there are, but I think owning that is very important. So how did you get to that point? Or are you at that point now?
No.
Keeping it real.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we're keeping it real.
No, because number one, I'm human. And just by being human, you're limited. Number two, I wouldn't be able to walk without insecurities because that would make me perfect. The beauty about having insecurities, I look at it twofold, because insecurities could drive you to a position of stunted growth. But sometimes insecurity can ultimately push you to be greater. So in terms of growing. Now back to whether I have overcome that. Now I'm pretty sure I have a lot of insecurities, bro.
Yeah.
I think everyone does. At some point. Could it be about your life?
In some domain,
You could be all right with your relationship with your spouse, but you're quite insecure when it comes to a parental relationship. You're like, with your child. Could be at work, like you're good in your room, like in the boardroom in front of people, you're like, oh no, I can't do that. Those are all insecurities. But not to to go left, I just want to ask Nadia, there is a fine line between insecure and fear, right? Because sometimes you're not insecure, you're just scared of something. Because insecure means, as you said, sometimes it's a feeling of unworthiness, being incompetent. Sometimes you're not incompetent, you're just scared because the environment is new, you know. And squeezy with the rise of mental health, I think we try and place a lot of things on the big issues instead of the minor issues. You know, you're just scared. It's because you had never been on stage, that's why you're scared. You're not insecure about speaking.
But
You just
then
never
how do
done
you, I don't know if that's what you want to ask Nadia, or maybe that I'm jumping on top of the mic.
Right.
How do you tell the difference?
How do you tell the difference?
Between woga na kwa insecure?
What's that in Kiswahili?
Woga is, I don't know
Fear.
insecure kwa
No, insecure.
Kiswahili. No, insecure kwa Kiswahili semaji.
I don't know
But
what it
I know
is.
woga
Yeah.
is fear.
Yeah.
Insecure ni kama kutokujiamini, kutokuwa na I don't know if there's an actual one word.
Lack of peace or safety, security.
Yeah.
Let's just stick to insecure for now.
So let's put it this way.
But yeah.
Like
Take me. For example, at some point, let's say I was scared to get on stage. This right here, having this conversation, is normal for me. I have no problem having this conversation in front of 5 people. Immediately when you put me in front of, I could be comfortable with Nadia and Michael. But multiply Nadia and Michael, the same people, times 1,000. I get paranoid, I get scared, I get anxious to go. It's just the number. It means you're just scared of the platform and the number of people. But it doesn't mean you're incompetent, because the same topic you could speak in private. Why can't you do it in public?
So
number one. No, go ahead.
Okay, I want to say, so I like what you talk about incompetence. Do we place insecure and incompetence around, do we put them on the same platform, would say, on the same category?
They're like a chicken egg situation, right? Incompetence can breed insecurity. Insecurity can lead us to feeling incompetent. Because if I'm unable to now stand in front of the stage, then suddenly I'm starting to question my oratory skills.
Absolutely.
Labda siwezi kuongea mbele za watu. So now suddenly I'm questioning myself. And hapo ndo inapoanzia, insecurity zinaanzia hapo. Ukianza kuji-question, kujiuliza, je, mimi ninaweza? Je, mimi you know? So it might be bred from like a simple fear. And I say simple because all our emotions are simple.
Right.
We then kind of amplify them and give so much power to them. Like Henry said, like a lot of the times, either tunatoa power tunampa mtu mwingine, au we give the power to our fears. We need to remember we are not our emotions. Right? They're pieces of information, internal information.
We are not our
It's like
emotions,
internal systems that alert you that, okay, a transaction was made within, or a call, or something was flagged in the organization, within the system. That's what emotions are.
Right.
Ni kwamba that's my internal clock, like inside. Kwamba this is to tell Nadia that she's happy. Whatever is happening in her environment is making her happy. Happiness comes. Whatever is happening around her environment now is bringing fear. Nadia is feeling a bit unsettled by it. But we also tend to give power to the emotion itself. And then we reason from emotion.
Right.
So because I'm afraid to stand on stage, that means I'm not a good speaker, or I can't do this. So to answer your question, it's a chicken-egg situation.
Yeah.
We don't know which one comes first, but oftentimes it could be that the emotional state that we're in the way we perceive it.
And I like that, because sometimes, as you said, I think emotions, I have a love-hate relationship with emotions. Because I believe emotions don't call you to respond. They call you to react very quickly, right? It's a reaction, not a response. And then if you react to something and then you back it up with a reason, mara nyingi unajikuta kwamba insecurities will form. Lakini response allows you to step back, analyze the situation, and then to respond, right? Once you do that, I think you're better placed in a position to actually see the small nuances and, is this really the case? Is it really not the case? Lakini unfortunately, the way we're just wired. Kama ulivyosema, in our formative years, kuna vitu fulani vikitokea, immediately we react in a specific way, right? And then as a result of that, tutafika kumbele, I think I'm jumping, lakini.
No, it's okay, it's cool.
And mara nyingi when we react, we find ourselves, because I'm reacting to what Michael said, it is Michael's fault.
Michael incited that.
That
I'm reacting this way.
Michael triggered.
Michael triggered. See, resident psychologist, she got this fancy word. Triggered.
Triggered.
You know.
They're just being fast right now.
Exactly. Actually, I saw, this is a controversial topic, I saw a video, somebody asked, guys, what do you think? So basically the question was about Instagram and how men have a tendency to like women, pictures of fairly attractive and specific kind of women, right? And the woman responded and said, I hate it and I would never let my spouse do that because it tells me something, right? So I listened further and she said, and the guy said, look, let me just tell you this. It's not what you're thinking. The reason why we're doing this is not what you're thinking. And her response to that was, it does not matter what you meant or what you said, it's what you communicated to me. I just went, that is the problem. Because then you're putting the blame on somebody else for how you take information, how you process information, and your output on somebody else. You know, because most of the times we don't want to put onus on ourselves to say, okay, let's just logically think about this, let's reason. Because many times when you do that, we end up finding our shortcomings and our own insecurities, and we don't want to face our insecurities. And many times insecurities are formed within, kama nilivyosema mwanzoni. And we try to project huko nje, thinking, let me cover my inner space because this is the safest place. Wakati in reality, ukikaa ukanyamaza kimya, ukafanya what you call it? Introspection. What do you want to say? Inspection. Introspection. Unakuja kugundua the most volatile place is within you. It's not huko nje. The thing you're trying to protect is because huku kuna fujo mno. I don't want to go in there. And so we try not to do that with the reason kwamba I don't want to attack the peace that's within. No, you're not at peace. You're at war, dude. And you're at war.
And this brings us, and I think this is exactly why we're having this conversation on Men, the podcast. And I honestly think this is one of those conversations about as men we need to have, especially when we work in Tanzania.
Oh yeah, just African men.
African men as a whole. And ukiangalia tulivyolelewa. And I'll give you an example here. I met some people about maybe, let's say I went to school with.
Right.
And like right now I'm good because I've talked with Nadia for a couple of years and I've studied a lot about mental health and I'm at that place.
It's therapy enough being with her.
But also the people who come into the podcast, we learn a lot, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm at that point in my life where I'm cool with certain things, you know? And knowing certain things out of my control. Kuna vitu ambavyo najua no matter what I do, probably I'm not going to get there and sio kitu ninachokitaka, so I'm not even going to waste my energy on that. But you take it back for a couple of years back, unakutana na mtu, the people you went to school with, they have good jobs, they're driving good cars, married, having family na vitu kama hivyo. Na wewe kama upo pale and you feel like these are your peers, in your mind you're like, this is where I should be. On top of that, now unaanza kusema, am I not good enough? What is it that I'm missing? But I was smarter than them in class, you know? I worked harder than them, and kazi wanayofanya I can easily do and more, and what's happening to me, na nini na vitu kama hivyo. So there are points ambapo wakati nitoka chuo, I felt that kind of, before I found my niche, and I'm like, I'm good, man, I'm good. But now, even mimi nikikutana baadhi ya watu wengine, they're like, oh man, we look up to you, na nini, anaweza kukwambia. And sometimes it's easy kumwambia mtu don't worry, kila kitu kwa nafasi yake na kila mtu kwa wakati wake na but then mtu anakuambia you're speaking that because you're in that position.
Right.
You're not where I am.
Absolutely.
You know, and sometimes I think it's a little bit narcissistic saying it, but sometimes you say it to go una nia nzuri.
Yeah.
And I feel like because as men, one of the things we love doing is men love to be appreciated by other men. We do. We live on affirmation. Na nimekutana hivi akaniambia, Michael, you're driving that car. Man, unafanya kazi pale. Oh man, uko vizuri. As a man, that tell me if I'm lying. If there's one thing about wanaume tunapenda.
In our affirmations, we don't have to say good car, just do this.
Affirmation kwa wanaume is massive.
Just nod your head, but like, I get what you're saying.
Non-verbal feedback.
Yeah, definitely.
Affirmation kwa wanaume. You guys, I wish what you not understand it. Actually, wanaume sometimes I think tuna value zaidi compliment na affirmation kwa wanaume wenzetu more than from women.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Kabisa.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also on the other hand, that also brings insecurity. Big time. when you feel like you're not getting that from your fellow men, when you feel like haukubaliki, when you feel like you don't fit in there, when you feel like haupo wale ambapo wengine wapo. That's just my observation and my take on this whole thing, especially katika context ya wanaume.
Absolutely. I think if I speak context ya wanaume, number one, formative years again. I think every young boy who has grown up with a father, that's your superhero. Awe a good father, or an absentee father, awe just just right there father. Just as a man, the first person you look at for what a man is, ni mzee. So as a child, mama can cuddle you as much, as possible. Even if you don't have that good relationship with your father, if your father just saying, I'm proud, you don't react like in ndani, you just go, yes. Tunaendelea. It means so much. Sasa unavoona kwamba ni mwanaume, to me, navoona. Ukimwona ni mwanaume, mzee ni mwanaume. Growing up, I would rather be affirmed by another man rather than a woman.
That's true.
For example, I am dating Nadia, right? And she's a beautiful woman, and we're walking. If a girl comes to me and says, your girl's cute, or she's fine, I'm like, but if Michael comes, he doesn't need to tell me name, he just needs to dap me, boop. Oh, inside I'm just like,
oh yes, yeah.
Now we got it, right? Yeah. I'm holding a black card, or I'm doing this, and the guy goes, yeah. So I think the reason is toko totoni. We've always sought after affirmation and validation from our fathers. Ubaya ni kwamba kiuafrika na kitanzania,
You wait.
we didn't get it.
We didn't
get it.
We didn't.
But I think sasa hivi nikiangalia nyuma, it was for good reason. Guys, forgive me.
Yeah.
Ni mimi.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
It's for good reason. Disclaimers to me.
Yeah.
Some people might be going through what you call trauma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's because I think it's not about our fathers didn't like us or they didn't love us. I think they were trying to shield us and protect us from the real world. But the real world is not going to always tell you that you're good.
Yeah. That's true.
So buckle up. Do the best you can do and live with it. Don't look for validation from me. Don't look for validation from anybody. I think that's what the problem is. Mothers, on the other hand, are nurturing. Oh, mwanangu ongera, mzee, just like, oh my God, this is, and we see it now. Because I lacked that.
Yeah.
Most men now grow up and have families, and then they respond to what their father did, and because it hurt them, they go, no, I'm going to cuddle up my child.
Yeah.
And now the child is always seeking validation. Let me see, if you validate your child all the time, ndo atakuwa hivyo.
Yeah.
Because then now your child is always waiting for what's that, adrenaline pump, whatever the chemicals that in your body.
But this is the thing, though. I think, and I love you, and I love this conversation because we usually have this talk with a lot of people, especially at the pub,
Right.
with the fellas. There's always a thin line between mtu kumwambia don't be a peep. I cannot use the word.
Yes.
But it's a P word. So don't be a peep. Raise your kid namna hii based on how I was raised. Mi babangu alikuwa nisifii, babangu alikuwa niambia hivi na nini na vitu kama hivyo, and the turn out right. And I'm like, cool. But on the other hand, how do you strike a balance between, because also as a father, and I think a lot of our fathers were extreme.
Of course.
Honestly.
Of course.
I think a lot of, and I cannot blame them because also their understanding how they were
Raised, yeah.
Kumbuka sisi, labda sisi ndio tulipata wazazi ambao walianza kuwa wamesoma.
Absolutely,
Sisi.
yeah.
Lakini
Just before that, just the generation before.
A generation before I was as well, nothing. Nothing. Na hata katika sio zetu ambao walisoma, unakuta katika familia labda msema mmoja au wawili ndio alifanikiwa kuendelea mbele zaidi. Kwa hata exposure ni kwa very limited. Lakini maybe wao ndio wakasema kwa wanetu, no, tuta-invest zaidi. As a result, na sisi tuna-invest zaidi kwa watoto wetu. It's, domino effect, inashuka chini. So in my mind, I'm like, how do you strike the balance between not raising an insecure boy ambaye anaona there is a need for validation kwenye kila kitu anachofanya, na how do you strike a balance by saying, I see you, I know what you're doing, I'm encouraging you, keep doing. Because I feel like you need to find a balance.
Yeah, and that's important. Na, I think wengi wetu hapo ndo tunapokosea. It's, you find the person either praising, yeah, so affirming, but they're not picking the right point to affirm. Ukiwa, let's say mtoto amefanya like kafanya kitu kizuri, sawa. It's always good to say, well, great job, right? Lakini don't affirm the outcome, affirm his process. What quality, personal, internal, that this child has, ambayo imemwezesha yeye kufanya kitu kizuri kama hicho. That way you're building the confidence within. Kwa sababu now it's not about nimeshinda award, it's about my commitment.
Your work ethic.
Right? My work ethic. And that is something I will always have. Lakini I won't always get an award. Unless akaja mtu mwingine who is much better than me who will get that award. So if my validation comes from, you won this, this is so great, and we praise the award itself, that is where in the future, if I don't get that, I am now feeling insecure. That was why I was validated. So now sina.
Absolutely.
You know, so it wasn't the person's quality and the internal that is constant, but you validated something that's external, something that can be taken away, something that can be lost.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you live in a world now that, some schools they're just handing out free praise to all kids, like participation, blah blah blah. That's, I think it's a I don't know what we're doing, but it's stupid.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Absolutely.
and the kids they know miss sijafanya chochote. Then nimepewa at the end of the school year eti certificate for participation. What did I put, like what?
Yeah.
Kids know, hey? Like if you sit with kids and you speak with them and you ask them, they're like, this is just for free. Like I just got this.
Right.
So namfundisha kwamba there wasn't anything that we saw in you, but tutakupa tu hii anyway ili ujisikie vizuri.
Absolutely. And I think pia one of the biggest things is umekuja kugundua. Unajua ukiwa mkubwa and you're married or you have a spouse or a best friend, there are certain things they do, even if they don't say a word, you know what they just said, or they're trying to communicate something. Mara nyingi tunavyokuwa, I'm pretty sure wazazi wetu, especially our fathers, did certain things, we just didn't register that. Umeona eh? Kwa hiyo, for example, amekupa kazi, umefanya vizuri, umeweza, he doesn't say a word. Kaka, the next day anakupa kazi nyingine. Next day kazi ngumu zaidi. Hajakwambia well done, hajakwambia kitu chochote. Lakini anybody anayekupa kazi ngumu zaidi inamaanisha he's noticing kwamba anakuamini, you can do this. You can do this. Sasa ubaya ni kwamba kazi inapozidi kuwa ngumu unavyoteseka, unarudi nyumbani. Sorry to bring mothers into this. Lakini mama anakuambia, mwanangu umefanya kazi nzuri, nakupenda. But because you don't hear it from your father, just go, and this man is so mean. Yeah. Lakini, for example, if you took the time and asked your mother, even mzee alikuwa anajisikiaje, she will tell you.
She will tell you.
But now to play the video of your childhood and just sit back on a big screen and just look at your father when you do certain things. To you as a child, you didn't see anything. Lakini kumbu ukiangalia video, you see him do this, or you see him smile. Then you go, oh, this dude was proud of me.
Yeah.
So I think because tulikuwa watoto and we were not thoroughly equipped to actually observe, the power to observe and notice certain nuances and little things. I think we concluded kwamba huyu mzee I said ni mgumu sana, tumelelewa vibaya sana. To me.
Yeah. And do you think
but then you need to remember we were kids.
Absolutely.
You are a child.
Ndio hicho.
Sasa nyie wazee jamani, learn the skills, right? Because it's not enough to be proud internally. Like point out, this is the skill, Nadia, that you have that's enabling you to keep up with the task.
Because
or some,
now, because now
feedback.
I think
Feedback.
we've had
Feedback is
important. My dad has never said ever, I'm proud of you.
Now do you see the
Meanwhile,
problem
akikana washikaji zake anakusifia huko, my son did 1 2 3 1 2 3 in front of you nothing.
But look at that statement though. Look at that statement. Repeat that statement.
My dad said he's never. I've never heard my dad say I'm proud of you. I've never heard my dad say
So that
I'm proud
means
of
you are looking for it.
Yeah.
You're looking for it.
Yeah.
And you need to hear it. If your father just did this, that wouldn't be enough for you.
It wouldn't be. And the teenage generation. This is why I love this conversation. This brings me back to.
I wish there was a live stream. I talk with my face on.
I'm telling you, we should be back to the men that we are now.
Right.
You know, the men that we are now. Because I think tumekuwa katika context mbili tofauti wanaume wa Tanzania sasa. Wapo ambao wamelelewa very traditional, as in baba ni baba, nini. Na wapo wazazi ambao they were, I would say, a little bit more I want to use the word affectionate zaidi. You know, they would pamper their kids na nina vitu kama hivyo.
Kiss the baby boy.
Yeah. And I feel like watu ambao labda na miaka 23, 24, 20 ngapi kushuka chini now, especially kama wanaume, wamelelewa katika yale mazingira ambayo affirmation is very important to you.
Absolutely.
Na juzi they call them, I think, Generation Z. Gen Z. Because kuna mtu juzi, I was nilikuwa na conversation naye, akatoa kwa mfano. Akasema back in the days when mwanaume akienda kuoa, it is men you provide. You know, nobody cares what a woman does, but as a man you provide. Hata kama mwanamke ana kazi nzuri zaidi yako,
yes,
but as a man you provide. Ndio kile kizazi cha mwanaume la yako ni wote, mwanamke la yake ni ya kwake. You get it?
Yeah.
But now tuko katika kile kizazi ambacho mtu kabla ya kuwa, you need to know what are you as a woman, what are you bringing to the table, and me as a man, what am I bringing to the table? Are we going to do 50-50 na nini na vitu kama we are tupo katika hiyo station sasa hivi. Now tuko katika generation ambayo nasema everything is 50-50 na nini na vitu kama hivyo, na ndio generation ambayo I think like ndio ulichosema wewe imeelewa katika mazingira good boy, fist pump, that's my boy, yay na nini na vitu kama hivyo. I would say sio wamejitambua zaidi, au do you think wamekuwa a different kind of breed of men? Ambapo now another thing ndio nakuja sasa, traumas ambazo zamani hatukuziona, because now they are much more exposed, they see this thing, they understand na vivyo kuna insecurities ambazo zipo, ambazo maybe sisi zamani hatukujua lakini hao siku hizo wanazijua, and then maybe sisi ambao hatukuzijua tuna project kwa wengine, lakini maybe wenyewe they have a better understanding. Kwa hiyo I don't know, do you think we have different kind of breed of men kabisa ambao understanding yao kuhusu vitu ni completely different?
Yes, absolutely. And I think I think most men now are weak men. Yes. Unajua, a man is supposed to be a warrior. Okay? When I say warrior, it means your number one job as a man is to protect your family. Protect and provide, right? That's your number one. Na haidai kubadilika bana. Haidai kubadilika toka enzi zile mpaka sasa hivi. Hata this business of 50-50, I don't understand it. I really don't. No matter, maybe I'm a big proponent of look. Hata kama unataka kuwa married, even if your woman is Oprah, right? And you're Stedman. Unaambia mama, sikiliza, rent, chakula ni mimi. Vingine we can discuss. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu that is my duty. That's my obligation. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu mimi ndo nimekufuata kwa mzee wako, nimekuchukua, si ndio? Sijakuchukua ili tukagane huko. Nimekuchukua ili kwamba bwana, mimi I can take care of you and we can build a life together. Sawa, right? So now unajikuta especially sasa hivi, because let's look at Gen Z, sawa? Tuchukue people who are wamezaa, let's say Gen Z wanameka from what age?
I don't know. I would like to think the 90s kids.
90s kids are millennials.
Millennials. 2000s then. Jesus Christ, there's a difference.
2000s,
right.
Yeah.
So unajikuta the way people are raised, and they're told to, you know, let your emotions show. Do this. It's okay to be.
It's okay not to be okay.
It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Then that means sometimes when something happens, you can coddle in a corner and start reflecting on how something happened, right? And then instead of you acting on something. So now unaingia huku kwanza to deal with this instead of deal with the situation. We were raised kwamba blaza, something happens, find a solution. And men are solution oriented. Squeezy men are not solution oriented. Ooh, let's talk about it. Let's discuss. How does that make you feel? What does it make you feel?
But is that a bad thing, Henry?
Yes.
It's toxic femininity.
Yes. I love that. Thank you, Nadia.
Toxic femininity.
I love it.
Yeah.
Right?
And how much it breeds insecurity for men.
Yes. Because if you think of toxic masculinity, toxic femininity,
People.
They're there, right? Toxic masculinity is that the masculine qualities, they're overly exaggerated to the point that they're now detrimental.
Absolutely.
And toxic femininity is those natural feminine traits that are overly exaggerated and now they're detrimental as well. Exactly. So if everything to me is about, oh, this feels like this, every time something small happens, your first response is to go feeling and dive deep into just feeling, then you're not being productive, right? You're not problem solving.
No, you're not. Because I think women have done a great job at placing those ideas in men, Squeezy. with the rise of feminism and with the rise of equal opportunities and stuff. That's not real. It will never exist, right? Kiukweli kabisa. Equal opportunity, it will never, man, tunadanganyana nini?
What if it be real?
It will never exist. Because that's not how God created the hierarchies.
And also we're very different, right?
We're very, or two different
like
people.
just anatomically, structured, like
the way we take in information,
we're
the way we
different.
process information, the way we output information, our DNAs are completely different kwenye hilo jambo, right? And I think wanaume wa squeezy, I see that with some of my friends and my, just see wa Tanzania na watoto lakini hujazala.
The nephews and the nieces,
and you see that oftentimes nobody wants to go do something. They want to sit back and analyze, not even analyze, soak in what just happened. Kwa sababu, mind you, ukisoak in what happened, there is nothing that's going to change.
it's gonna absorb you.
That's it. Utaanza sa, oh my God, alinikataa yule.
More layers in a form.
Mtu akikataliwa job application, squeeze watoto wakikataliwa job applications tatu. Mental breakdown.
Internalize it.
Yeah,
Kwamba,
like-
okay, because of Mimi, it's they personalize.
They personalize
Yeah.
the issues, And mara nyingi, I think that is a big issue, at least with the rise of social media now, because even our barometers for what is and what isn't, iko mtu mwingine. You're a good-looking woman, not you, Nadia. I'm looking at you, Michael. You're a good-looking woman.
What is wrong with this guy?
Right?
Yeah.
Or your husband, or my wife is a good. Lakini, akiangalia social media, the definition of beauty is who? The Kim K's of the world. It's the Beyonce of the world. Also, that will take you $3 million to look like that, brother.
Yeah.
Dietitian, kila kitu. So, ugali hapa na kisamvu mzee. Right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you're less than in any kind of way. Because then tunaangalia vitu vya nje sana. Na kwa nini tunaangalia vitu vya nje? Kwa sababu kuna watu wa nje wanatu project vitu humu. So we're taking things in instead of, nothing flows from within. So we're always affected by external issues rather than things internally flowing outwards. So what do you think of
And that's where all the turmoil comes from.
Absolutely.
Kwa sababu internally, you know that this is not me. So now there's conflict. Right? So you're consciously projecting and seeking external
Validation,
feedback and validation, right? But that information that you're taking in and you're owning is actually not a reflection of you, the internal you. And a lot of us, we don't take enough time to get to know exactly who is Nadia. What does Nadia like? What is Nadia like when no one is watching her?
Absolutely.
I think that's the most important. Like a lot of us, we fix our identity and image based on what other people say about us, how other people interact with us. But we rarely look at me as Nadia. If I sit in a room, no cameras, nothing, what's happening?
I was watching an interview by my favorite rapper. Who's that, Nadia? My favorite rapper?
Jay-Z?
Obviously, Nadia. We've talked about it for. I always find a way to bring it up. So, but that was a test kujua kama ananisikilizaga. Yeah, Jigga Man.
I mean, ningepita.
Wait, sikutaje hata kuuliza. We've had this talk. So, and then alikuwa anaongea about how he was telling his uncle kwamba he's gonna be a great rapper, and his uncle's like, "You're not gonna sell a single record." And then when Jay made it, he was like, my uncle told me I'll never sell a single record, but I sold a million record like a million times. But then he was like, as later nakasema kwamba when his uncle was telling him kwamba not be a great rapper, it was not even about Jigga or Jay-Z.
Yeah.
It was about his uncle, more like
Projecting his fear.
his fear and insecurity kwa jamaa kwamba wewe huwezi kutoboa, but really it's about kutoboa. And I feel like one of the biggest problems we have right now, na ndio maana I love when you talk about Gen Z now. So hata people umri wetu na umri juu ni kwamba sometimes tunasikiliza sana opinions za watu wengine kiasi kwamba insecurities zao na fear zao zina uwezo kabisa kudictate future yetu sisi. Well, I don't think that's how it should be.
It shouldn't,
I really don't think that's how it should be. No. So how do we, you still need some guidance. Na still bado unahitaji kuongea na watu. So how do how do we strike a balance between knowing okay, this person is really really projecting and huyu hapa kweli anatoa guidance na ameona i challenge na vitu kama, because especially it comes from the people that you love and the people that you respect. You know, we tend to think kuna watu ambao wanajua zaidi yetu, forgetting kwamba sometimes hivyo ndio pia hawajui, but we tend to think kuna watu ambao wanajua zaidi yetu ambao tuna value opinions zao kwetu. You know, so what happens when those people started projecting their fears and their insecurities? How do we deal with that? Because we don't live in an island, tunaishi na jamii na tuzunguka.
And we are social beings. So whether we like it or not, other people are an important part of us, right? But they're not us. So that's something we need to keep in mind, that social connections are important to us because we are social beings. Think of it from a survival basis. Like, our natural instinct is to survive. There are times where my survival stands on me shooting down Michael so that I don't have to share the resource that is scarce, right? Other times, my survival is directly related to Michael accepting me into the group. So now I have resources. So kuna hivyo conflict mbili in us, like we have the destructive survival and the connection survival mechanisms. But it's based on now how we perceive. So if I perceive, okay, for me to succeed with this podcast, I need to make Michael look bad, so everyone praises me.
Right.
So that is destructive. But if I look at it, okay, Michael and I need to blend and gel well as a team so that we project that we are a unit, then my approach to us is different. Right? So it's the same with us. And lakini the most important thing is to know, Mimi as Nadia, not as Nadia and Michael, Mimi as Nadia, what do I bring to this podcast?
Right.
And we always say that. Nadia is our resident psychologist, bringing the mental health aspect into here, right? So we're aware of our individual abilities and skills and what we bring onto the table. And then when it comes to the social, like if Michael validates me, then it's going back to, you know, Nadia's, this is the skill set that Nadia has, and you're validating the skill set, right? And when you say something about it, if I am not confident and self-aware that these are the tools I have, these are the things that I am capable of doing, then it's easy for me to say, okay, maybe I'm not a good psychologist. I'm not a good listener. Kwa sababu mimi sijajitambua mwenyewe bado.
Right.
Kujitambua sasa.
Kujitambua is actually, just before kuna kujitambua, I think hebu tuangalie. Let's put two different people. There's someone you admire and you look up to, and there's another person that you look down under.
No, that's a very. But lakini kuna watu ambao unaona down like unachukulia poa tu.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, look at these two situations. The person you don't look up to comes and tells you, you ain't crap, you're terrible. And then the person you look up to comes and says, dude, you're great. Automatically, the person you look up to anaongeza value. You who you don't look up to, hakupunguzi chochote. You're just like, dude, what do you know? You don't know anything. Let's flip it around then. Let's tubadilishe nani. Yule ambaye you look up to tells you you're crap. And the person you don't look up to tells him, dude, you're awesome, man. Again, you go with the person you admire and look up to. Right? And look, what's his name? Sadhguru.
Sadhguru.
Yeah, he said something very profound. He said, if you look up to someone, you'll exaggerate the positive side. You think there's nothing wrong happening, right? But if you don't look up to somebody else, you always exaggerate the negative. So don't look up to anything. Just look at life, have a perspective, and seeing life for what it is. I'm a big firm believer of saying just don't look up to anything. Just I think look up to God. I mean look to God, right, and not people. Because everyone has their own shortcomings, and sometimes mtu anapokuambia hivyo, as you said, as Jay said about his uncle, he's projecting his fears and his insecurities and what he deems insufficient within himself. Hata wazazi wetu. I'll give you a good example. Sisi tunavyokuwa. There's certain professions uko huwezi kufanya. Kwa sababu to them
hawakuweza.
Na mbona hawakuweza? Kuna vitu walikuwa wanataka kufanya. Lakini vilipingwa. Kwa sababu wakati ule Kwanza kuwa hired wakati unajua government ukienda ukimaliza government unakuwa
Inakudictate. Yeah.
so engineer, doctor, lawyers, pilots, whatever it is. So
And I think this is why you ask kid, what about your current? Every kid wanted to be either a pilot,
Yeah.
a doctor, or an engineer.
Absolutely.
Or mwalimu.
Absolutely.
Yani it was just those professions.
Nikimwambia-
Doctor nani mwandishi wa habari? Are you kidding?
Are you kidding? Nikimwambia I want to be a psychologist, nakwambia wapi? Nchi gani? Unasaidia ni because mental health, you talking about your emotions and mind and how you process things. Hazipo hizo. So why are you trying to study that?
Yeah.
Right? Ukiangalia upande wa pili, imagine. Sasa hivi mimi nikizaa mtoto. Akanambia I want to be an artist. I'm like, okay. I want to be a photographer. Okay. Dad, I want to be a creative. You're like, well done. Because I see where the world is going. Right? Mzungu mimi.
Yeah.
Hata kama niingize hela kiasi gani atakudharau tu kazi yako if it is not within the spectrum hapo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A good example, my brother loves music, right? And he's a DJ huko nje. I'm pretty sure he makes good money in comparison to a lot of people. Like mimi mzungu mpaka haielewi anakwambia yani
What is it? Anachofanya ni nini?
nini yani unafanya chiki chiki chiki. That's kwa shida yako ni kufanya karuke tu juu. Ndio hiyo maisha yako. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because he doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
Afa nakuona as a uzuri my brother is a rebel kidogo. He just doesn't care.
I'm
Ndio maana
telling
akaweza
you,
kufanya hicho kitu.
My mom doesn't know what I do for a living now. Like, unafanya kazi gani? Unafanya kazi hii organization. Unafanya kama gani? Creative producer. So
What do you do?
what do you do? Yani creative producer ni nini? Yani nieleweshe Michael.
Absolutely.
Ukianza kumwambia sasa ukizingati na organization ambayo ninafanya inatengeneza animation kwa watoto ambaye ni cartoon basically.
Yeah.
So ina maana like
Haelewi.
unatengeneza katuni like mama maisha yanaenda waed nifikia hiyo point mama maisha yanaenda waed
Yeah.
yanaenda so it's so good
Yeah.
so I get it yeah
Get it? Lakini pia even the place where you're from.
yeah
Kuna watu ambao wanaelewa vitu indaa ama ukienda Mwanza, Shinyanga, huko wapi ukielezea hakuelewi. How? Uwezi ukafanya hicho, unafanyaje? Kwa sababu all they know is kuchunga ng'ombe, sijui kuvua samaki. That's all they know.
yeah
So when they project, sometimes they're not projecting the insecurities all the time. It's the fact that they just don't know any better.
Yeah, they're projecting their worldview.
It's just their worldview. Ndio maana nasemaga sometimes pia tuondoke huku. Haya maswala ya Mungu nisamehe. Haya maswala ya trauma haya and mental health. Mara nyingi nasema kama mtu anakuambia hicho kitu wewe unaanza kuzania kile anachokwambia ni insecurity yake mwenyewe. Lakini it's just his worldview kama ulivyosema. So he's not trying to project anything. He's just giving you knowledge of what he knows.
Yeah.
So ukimwambia anaweza kukimbia akapanda akatengeneza ndege akapanda kwenye ndege ile hakuelewi. What are you talking about? Mimi najua kupanda nani gurudumu la ng'ombe hapa. Unaniambia kuhusu ninunue gari. So sometimes it's not the insecurity, it's just that they don't know any better. Sasa kuna on the other hand kuna watu ambao kweli they know better but they tried it, they failed it. Sasa wewe ukienda kujaribu sometimes huweza akafanikiwa kwenye kitu ambacho mimi nimefeli. Maana anakuja kukwambia dude, no you can't do that. That's impossible dog. Don't hapo anaanza kuproject his insecurities.
I think we got that one. I think when we started doing the podcast it was more like let's see how long this is gonna go,
Right.
you know. Yeah, and now that I think now I get it more.
Right.
It's less. It was less about me and about what we were trying to do, but more about is it doable? And for some people they don't see it happening.
Yep.
And kuna watu wengine watu wafumbe macho they cannot visualize it.
Absolutely.
Kwamba this is going to happen or this can happen. So
Yeah.
the best thing that they can do is to, and again, nikirudi kwa kesi ya parents wetu, for them it was more like protecting you from being disappointed.
Yes.
Pia ku protect your future, kwamba this is not going to pay you.
Yeah.
Haitakupa maisha mazuri, kwa hiyo hii itakusaidia. That's what I'd like to think.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hakuna mzazi ambaye alikuwa hataki mtoto wake awe na maisha
Fanikiwe.
mazuri.
No.
Hakuna kitu kama hicho.
No.
Na wenyewe based on walichokuwa wanajua kwamba the only way unaweza kufanikiwa ni hivi. So unaponiambia unataka kwenda kucheza mpira wakati una nafasi ya kwenda kucheza chuo kikuu.
Eti.
How?
Yeah.
How? That's not gonna happen.
That's true.
I have a friend ambaye baba alimwambia ana kipaji kabisa cha kucheza mpira. Kabisa. Na mzee ana uwezo.
Right.
Akaenda kwenda kufanya trials na nini. Mzee akaambia pata degree and then au mwingine atende. So unapata kuna bahati mnaweza kumaliza degree, trials ndio kuchezea wapi.
Bora hata huyo. I remember when I was about 16 and I was in love with basketball and I'd rather say I was pretty okay.
Yeah.
I remember the basketball national team coach called me and my cousin to try out for the national teams. and then play in the local league. Hapo nilikuwa bado sijaenda university. My cousin, my nephew, akapiga signature na mzee, unajua barua zinapiga signature kaenda. Mimi mzee asked me a simple question. Unataka kudunda mpira au unataka shule?
Make a choice.
You don't have a you don't have a choice. Yeah. Because ukisema nataka kudunda mpira, hasaini ile barua na kuona mtoto mpuzi sana.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to kuonekana mpuzi mbele ya mzee.
Kwa mzee. Your father.
Yeah, you can.
Validation ya mzee.
Validation ya mzee muhimu sana.
Lakini as a result, ndugu yangu got a scholarship, a full scholarship to Canada because of that.
Wow.
Maybe no, I didn't have a bad life. I'm just saying. Lakini
it could have been.
Because you already suppressed that.
Yeah.
That was one of those things. Kuna vitu vingi, I'm pretty sure as well suppress utotoni.
Yeah.
Asa ukija ukubwani, I think that the impact is so much greater.
Yeah.
Especially when you feel like you cannot do anything else to resolve that situation.
Yeah.
So wanasema tu nakubaliana na hiyo hali halisi.
Yeah.
Now mbele ya safari ukija kufeli au kukataliwa kitu fulani, we become a generation of people ambao tunakubaliana na hali.
Na vivyo we cannot handle rejections too.
Of course.
I remember we had a conversation na watu, nikaambia tulikuwa tunafanya certain production, nikaambia mtu kwamba so when I started mimi nilianza kufanya kazi newsroom kabisa.
Right.
Na kama ni journalist nafanya newsroom na wale journalists wa zamani.
Yeah.
Man, yo.
Right.
Like really man, you'd go out na tafuta story yako unajua ya maana, umekuja na insights, umeandika pale, umemwandikia mtu Q-ins na links na kila kitu. Mtu anaisoma hamna trash, hamna kitu. Na unatembea huna gari, unatembea na record yako juani, yani, you know, looking for stories. So right. I came up from that era, ya journalism wakati naanza kazi. So the other day tukao tunafanya this production and I asked guys like, so umefanya production yako hapa nini umeniletea mimi niipitishe. Mimi nikaiangalia nikasema upuzi mtupu sitaki. Unafanya jaka baki Mungu Michael naacha kazi.
You see?
I was like what? Akama Michael kwa Mungu uite kazi yangu takataka.
I love this generation.
Akambia uite kazi yangu takataka. Nikamwambia but do you think you're the best producer ever? Kwamba you are Hype Williams or right. Michael Bay or whatever kwamba wewe yani kazi yako. Akamwambia no. Sema hivyo lakini huwezi kuita kazi yangu takataka. I was like you're lucky man. You're lucky. Lakini that's the generation that we have now. So which nataka turudi tena kwenye kuzungumzia swala zima la insecurities, right? After all this talk. What are some of the insecurities that you feel like you've had to deal with, Hen?
This is therapy now. How much you charging now? I mean, yeah, for me, I don't know why it's hard to speak about it or talk about it because again, maybe come on, the way I was raised, and I'm a pretty. Say.
Yeah.
No, as in no. I'm trying to describe myself. Yes, I do have my insecurities. Lakini I have never allowed them to put me down. Nitatembea nazo hivyo hivyo. Hata kama nikidefeat something, doesn't mean my insecurity is gone. Kwa kuna kitu labda tuseme labda niseme I'm not. So, put it this way, I never do something for the sake of overcoming my insecurity. That's never my thing. Itakuwepo tu. Kwa sababu, mind you, kama kitu kilikuwepo for 20, 30 years of your life, merely by one action, insecurity is kuondoka. Right? So, kwa mfano nikiwa bado insecurity, I don't think I'm good enough of a lawyer labda. I just pick up and do it. That's what I want to do, I'll do it. Lakini nikiacha pale kazi kwenye sehemu nyingine bado ile itakuja kwangu. So I've never done it as a matter of overcoming it. I've just done it because that's a goal and I need to accomplish it. Kwa sababu again nikisema I need to overcome it, imagine mimi nimeshajiuliza hichi kitu. Imagine nikapata hiyo kazi nikaambia I'm no longer insecure. Afu mimi nikakutana na bosi wangu. Mimi bosi wangu huyu, I'm not sasa hivi. Bosi wangu sasa hivi worked with huyo bosi nayemuongelea sasa hivi. Huyo bosi ana tabia moja. Because he's the managing partner and he's a good nurturer by the way. Because the managing partner of probably the top law firm in the country. Ukifanya ujinga, something that's subpar or just at par. Anaweza hakufuati wewe, anasimama kwenye corridor, anasema wewe umesoma shule gani, right? Kama umesoma Tanzania, kama hujasoma University of Dar es Salaam, atakwambia ndio matatizo haya kusoma Tumaini. You see, what he's trying to do is good, the approach is wrong. Asa imagine mimi overcome yangu nimepata ile kazi, nikiingia mwenye nakutana na hilo jambo, what happens then? Napo process mimi. So mimi I try remove onus kwa yule jamaa, hata akinitajia vibaya, sijui umefanya kazi mbaya, just go, oh okay cool. Also you think it's bad, I'm coming right back at you. I'm coming right back at you. Sijali kwamba you think I'm less than. Output hiyo inatokaje? Output inatokaje? To me, output inatokaje? So I'm removing it from him. It's all about the outcome. It's all about the outcome and the process to get to that. I want to be a master at something. And no matter how I feel is irrelevant. To me, Henry, feelings are fleeting and I hate it so much.
About feelings.
I hate it. I really hate it when somebody says, but I feel this. Who cares how you feel, dog? Just do it. Sorry for keeping it real.
Keep it real. That's good.
In your job, don't feel like it. No, get up, put on your suit, go to work. In your relationship, you made me feel this. I struggle with that. Yeah. What do you mean I made you feel?
Because you're also still shifting blame. Like you can share, I feel this way when something happened, and then the next step. So this is where we get it wrong with feelings. People think when you share your feelings, that you sit there down feeling sad, basi kila mtu aje akae nawe kama vile mna msiba wa sadness. No.
Msiba wa sadness.
You know, it's
sadness has died.
Yeah,
and everybody's really sad about
the sad. Yeah.
Like
the whole point of emotions, as Henry is saying, they are fleeting. Emotions literally last for seconds. Hazikukai mwilini. Whatever the chemicals that trigger specific emotions are quick because nini, they're there for your survival. Nadia, you're afraid. Pop.
Run.
What does it say? Nadia, scan your environment. There's something there that is threatening. Problem solved now. Toka. Lakini nikikaa pale, my body is already, it's intelligent, it may pick up threat. It may trigger the feeling of fear. Ili kuniamsha ni take action. Alafu mimi nikakaa, nikaanza kuevaluate the fear itself. Rather than now looking outside to scan, what can I do to make my environment more safe? That is where we get it wrong with emotions. That we think, oh, I'm feeling depressed. I sit with the depressed feeling, the sad feeling. No. Right? Those are just cues. They're just pieces of information, right? That tell you act, take some action. Alafu inakupa feedback sasa. Umeshachukua, problem solve. The feeling comes back, inakuambia bado hujatatua tatizo.
Exactly.
Go back to the drawing board.
Absolutely.
But the minute you problem solve properly, a different emotion comes up.
So where we go wrong, ni kwamba now
we overvalue the emotion itself.
Exactly. But I believe, number one, to me, fear is a lie. To me.
Fear is what?
It's a lie.
It doesn't exist.
It's not real. It's not real. No, fear is not real.
Really?
It's me, I believe fear is not real. The reason why I say fear is not real, I'm pretty sure the Quran says it, the Bible says it. One of the biggest things the Bible says do not fear. Because it understands when you fear, you start creating this other world, right? And that other world kind of paralyzes you to remain in one place, right? I think I was looking at my phone, there's a book I had read, pretty thick book. It entitled The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Ambayo anasema, above all, avoid fear, because fear is the consequence of every lie, right? So, mara nyingi unavyosema hicho, mara nyingi ukiangalia, insecurity is a consequence. It's not the issue.
Yeah.
That's the outcome that comes out of it. Now, mara nyingi as people, we try and treat the insecurity.
Instead of
looking at the source.
Wow.
Not the source. Hata maishani, mtu unaenda treat tunda lilotokea. The root cause hatujui. Unaona, tatizo jamaa na okay, kumbe kidonda chake tukipaka spirit au iodine kidogo hapa kikifunga, that's no, what caused that? Why are we here? No, anasema we need to backtrack and see, go back to the drawing board, because then ukiweza analyze the situation and solve the problem, not the outcome, So the problem that led to the negative outcome, emotions that was not got faulty. Then you go,
But here's the thing though. One of the things we don't want to do that, but because it requires work, and we don't like to work. Do you know how? Do you know how hard it is?
Not that we don't like work, Michael.
The hard work.
Internally. Because then you have to look. Unajua ukifanya hivi, afu ukakuta mara kuna vituko huko ndani. It's a problem. Work ya nje, mbona we're okay with it? I'm okay to solve your issues. To help you solve your issues. Like in my own.
We're quick to give advice.
Okay, we're quick to give advice. Like it's so hard for us to look within at an end of a therapist kwanza akimtibua vitu fulani unasema, what is going on? Because it's a dangerous and scary place. Because the safest place most of the times is the place with the most turmoil within us. Unajua, nikienda turmoil ya nje because I can escape that. Huku, I cannot escape. So you're always faced with it all the time, and I think that's why we fail to do that, and especially in the context of men, because we're problem solvers. We'd rather not come inside because unajua hili tatizo hili hapa hakuna kutoboa. I'll have to face it as it is, battle it out, and inawezekana ikatumia muda. We don't like muda sisi. Ndio maana hata seriously, you come home. I like giving an example. You come home. Sindio? We've talked about this kule site. You put the dishes chafu. Mke wako anaondoka kaenda kazini, siku you're just free. Kama basi help me wash the dishes, you go, okay. Akarudi kakasirika kwamba wewe hujaosha dishes. The number one thing for a guy is let's wash the dishes. Simple problem, solution. Mama atakuja kuambia now, let's sit down and talk. There's a reason why tulikubaliana afu kufanya.
But you're like, for men, you're like, the issue was the dishes.
The issue was the dishes.
Nimeshaosha.
Na mimi nikiwa mtoto wangu wa kiume, nikimtuma kitu asipofanya, nikirudi hajafanya, tambia wewe, nilikwambia nini? Hebu nenda kafanya. Ukishafanya ndo sasa, nilikuwa ngumu. Haya. Watch football.
Yeah.
Because the thing has been solved.
You let it go.
Problem, quick solution. When you
I'm laughing at the example later. I'm 100% sure everybody listening. And I can relate.
Absolutely.
Issue ya jua nini, washe vyombo. Mtu karudi vyombo vijaosha. Akiongea sawa kingoja nikaviosha. Issue itakayokuja pale. No, but I said it in the morning. Umeshinda nyumbani the whole day. Sawa, sikosha asubuhi moja. Say no. But why now? Kwa nini nimekukumbusha tena? No, yeah, but sawa umenikumbusha tena.
Exactly, yeah.
Lakini si nimeosha. Na ndio maana kuna siku moja alisema mtu mmoja aliandika apologize like a man. Aliandika tu. Unajua apologize no man. Basi yaishe. Samahani. Yaani hivyo. Let's kaandika bonga paragraph. Samahani.
Sema usiulize why.
Sometimes we don't even read long messages.
No, we don't.
Then kama tuko
First part and last.
Nikagundua hapa Stroboy.
Yeah.
Samahani mama. Inawezekana sikubaliana na ulichoandika, lakini for the sake of kupata amani basi yaishe tusiwe samahani mama.
Hata with men. Hata with men. Something happens, conflict between us, you go back, brother.
Bro, sio issue.
Hatuja discuss chochote hapo. Yameisha. Tukirudia tena it's the same. Blaza yaisha. You know what I'm saying? And the one thing I think introspection is an art. It's a real art form. And I think one of the greatest men in the world who have existed, you know, if we talk about the prophet, if we talk about Christ, a lot of them lived a life of great introspection. If you look at this, there's a trend. Like those are great men, man. You know, lakini, I think everyone had their own insecurities. You know, sorry to bring it to the Bible. Lakini, for example, Moses. Moses was completely insecure. He couldn't speak. He was not eloquent.
He couldn't.
And every single time Mungu anambia hebu nenda nakwambia mzee sometime baada hata Mungu hata kuongea siwezi. He felt insecure. There's a reason why he felt insecure. It's not because kwa sababu yetu hawezi kuongea.
Inawezekana ulimi mzito anasema.
Lakini ulimi mzito kwani ni nini? The problem is inawezekana haitoi picha, lakini I'm wondering always hivi mpaka aseme vile and I equate kwamba sitaweza ni kwa nini? Utotoni wake ilikuwaje? Kuna watu walikuwa wanamcheka. He lived in a palace. Yuko kuna wanamcheka, wanamtania. Alikuwa hapewi nafasi ya kuongea. Just me trying to paint a picture. Ukiangalia Jeremiah anamwambia bwana mzee mimi the prophet Jeremiah anamwambia Mungu I say I can't do this. Unaona? These are examples of people wakina Gideon ambao anamwambia Mungu I say mimi I come from the weakest family. And God is like, what does that have to do with it? What is where you come from or what you cannot do have to do with you walking and going and saying something. Come on, eh? So sometimes our insecurities paint a false picture or a false narrative of who we are, and then because it has been said to us so many times, either by other people or by ourselves, we tend to believe that it is eventually true.
I thoroughly listened to a podcast called The Real Dictators.
Right.
And then nilitoa example when we did that broad talk party at the Shepherds. Nimesema kwamba, so they've done a series of a lot of dictators, from the Kim Jong-uns,
Right.
Hitler, Idi Amin, Stalin, you know, all those. Yeah, so you were one of the Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan, whatever.
Genghis Khan, yeah.
Yeah, but then if there's one thing they've always said, if kama kuna kitu ambacho I've picked up, ni kwamba all of this, growing up, were very insecure people. And I think for most of them, they wanted to overcompensate. And then walikuwa na terrible childhood kwa kiasi kwamba walikuwa driven kwamba the moment I get power,
Right.
utaniona.
Absolutely.
The moment I get power, you guys will know. And we all know
What happened?
we all know what happened when those people walishia kupata power. The same thing nikileta kwenye context yetu. We have men ambao they've been insecure for so long, and then they get in position of power. And we've all seen what happens when this kind of men
Of course.
wanapokuwa kwenye position of power. It becomes more and more every day about proving
Yes.
kwamba I am powerful. I have influence. I have been, and I feel for me like this is the effect of not dealing with your insecurities or not owning up to them, or kujua kwamba these are the things ambavyo I'm not good at, or hivi ni vitu ambavyo
And to work on.
Yeah, and to work like right now mimi najua kabisa insecurities zangu ziko wapi.
Yes.
Yani najua.
We all know.
Yani
Labda tutaki kuongelea, lakini we know.
Hatutaki kuongea lakini nazijua. Yani najua insecurity yangu iko wapi, najua vitu gani vinanitrigger. Yani I know the trigger words, and yani I know all that.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people ambao wameishia kupata, you look at the story of Idi Amin, where he came from. From a certain tribe ambao walikuwa wengi tu ni wanajeshi, didn't go to school, he did nini, anaona kuwa hakupata heshima anayostahili, and then through maneuvering he became to the top of the army, he got power, so it was, oh, you're laughing at my English now.
Yes.
Uingereza ina shida, tutawachangia nyie. Nyie kila siku mnatuchangia sisi. He's out there in the press anaongea kabisa, naona ni muda sasa na sisi tuwachangie wengine.
You bring another problem that don't even exist.
Yeah, so it's and this is why for me this topic is very important, because I feel like as men, especially about tuna progress now, you have chances ya kuwa baba, katika context kwamba you're head of the family na nini. If you do not deal with your insecurities now, and dealing with them, just like Henry said, kwamba hichi kitu it has been probably maisha yako yote, you know, so probably sio kitu ambacho unaweza ukadili nacho overnight, but kujua na ku acknowledge. This is why we have wababa ambao wakifungua tu mlango wakiingia sebuleni watu wanakula kona.
Honi ukisikia blaza.
Ukisikia honi tu, remote inatafutwa na feature sebuleni na iko vizuri, watu wanakula kona. Nobody wants to sit with the father in the living room, because wazazi walikuwa they had their own and they never dealt with them.
Yeah.
So now on a project pia kwa watoto.
Umekaa kama angalia tu TV. Mbona kwa mjinga?
We've had watu ambao watu wanakupiga story growing up kama mzee alikuwa anamtandika, anamgeuza kichwa chini miguu juu, anamweka kwenye mti alafu anapiga. We've had cases mzazi kamtolea mtoto wake bunduki.
No, that's terrible.
Those cases. But we know those cases. Mzazi kagombana na mwanae kabisa mpaka mzazi alisha kumtolea. I'm like, I cannot imagine that happening to me, or I cannot imagine me doing that to my kid. But we know those stories.
Yes.
We know those stories, mnaambia. Mzee akiondoka sisi vitu vinafichwa it's like, and I feel like it's a lot of those men who never got to deal with their own issues, their own insecurities, and then as a result now.
But here's the issue. Actually, I want to speak on this issue and ask you a question. Because many a times, okay, even those men you've spoken about, their fathers or their surroundings told them they're not good enough, or they're terrible.
Yeah.
You know, be it, for example, even Hitler.
Yeah.
Kukataliwa tu, just because he was rejected, it goes, ngoja sasa. Kwa yani shida. So I want to ask you, kwa sababu sometimes people, the way people say things to you, the words that they project towards you, that you're not good enough, wewe ni mjinga, huwezi kufanya hichi, ukishika hivi you're clumsy, all these things ukiongelea sana, you start believing them, right? Now you believe them not because they've said it, it's because you've accepted enough kuanza kujiambia kwa kweli I'm clumsy. Exactly. Now I think now you find a generation that is so obsessed with affirmations and the power of positive thinking. What's your view on that? I have my own view. Like, can you counter what you've said by affirming yourself with words of affirmation? What's the other term for it? I am victorious. I am powerful. I am powerful. I'm all this. Kwa sababu I think we tried tunasemaga dawa moto ni moto. Kwa sababu niliambiwa hivi, nitajiambia hivi. So many times that I actually start to believe it. Do you think that works? Do you think that's a good approach? Do you think that can shift perspective and mentalities and heal the so-called trauma, hurt, and insecurities that somebody might be harboring?
This guy just said so-called trauma.
I've never understood that, the meaning of that word. Yeah. Because people have misplaced it and misused it to their own advantage.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think sometimes we can get very manipulative.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm chiseling.
When it comes to affirmations, they have a place.
Right.
Lakini. See, this is the place. Like most of us, I always blame it on this era of free reign to all information, free access to everything. Paka, it's overwhelming. Our brains are overwhelmed with information that we don't know what to do with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because as human beings, tunachukua like bits of information, we will read an article, we will only get 1 point and run with it.
Social media called clickbait. They tell you exactly what you
want. You know, affirmations only work if you do the work. So we use affirmations to give us that instant.
Come on now.
You know, that instant push, that push, that wake up call that, okay, I am enough.
Yes.
Nadia, haya sit sasa with your insecurities, unpack them, do the work. Because you are enough.
Yes.
All of us human beings, we are enough. Yeah. Right? We're good enough.
Absolutely.
You're not feeling that way. There is a reason you're not feeling that way. So this is affirmations are reminders.
Yes.
They are reminders. As human beings, we deserve love, we deserve happiness, we deserve everything under the sun. Yeah? We tell ourselves that we don't. So affirmation is a reminder. Actually, my friend, you deserve this. As I sit and do the work to figure out why you've been telling yourself you do not deserve this.
Yes.
So many of us will just go about reminding, I deserve this, like you're not doing the work. And so internally, it's like detecting a lie. You are lying to yourself.
Absolutely.
That is feeding back into the insecurities you're having inside. Kwa sababu huiamini, I don't siamini kwamba I am enough. So me saying that affirmation, I am enough, as I wake up, but internally najua I'm not enough. It's breeding another layer kwamba okay, najidanganya on top of this.
Absolutely.
It feeds back into this is the reason you're not enough even. You can't even tell yourself the truth. You know? So it becomes detrimental. It's like now you've created a weapon to further attack yourself. Like the whole goal of an affirmation is just to remind you of what you deserve, who you are. That's why you see templates, affirmations, they're not tailored to just Michael, to just Henry, to just Nadia. It's not just me that tells myself I am good enough. No. Because we are all
good enough.
It's universal.
Absolutely.
You know, affirmations zote are universal. Even if I generate them myself, nitamkuta na Michael aligenerate hiyo because they are universal.
Absolutely.
Like our insecurities are bred differently. Maybe for you it could be your encounter with your father. For me it could be I wasn't raised by my parents.
Right.
Right? Different things. Like it goes to the universal aspect of human beings that we need to feel a sense of belonging. Good enough speaks to belonging. Because if I don't feel good enough, then I don't deserve to be here with you.
Right.
And so I cannot belong here. Right? So affirmations are just reminders that this is what you are, who you are. Lakini, you don't believe this, so go do the work. Figure out where this is coming from. Solve the problem. Because I'm not good enough is a symptom of a problem. Us telling ourselves are symptoms of a problem. Our anxieties are symptoms of a problem.
Absolutely.
If we sit and we're fixated on the symptom and don't solve so I work with patients as well, right? Medication treats symptoms.
Absolutely.
Depression, these are the symptoms of depression. Medication goes and treats the sleeping problem, the excessive sadness, the lack of interest. Medication goes and rebalances the neurotransmitters, makes sure your body is functioning the way it's meant to be functioning. Lakini, you find people relapsing. Why? It's because they haven't taken the time to see what exactly gave birth to the imbalance within my system.
Absolutely.
What Henry said, the root cause.
The root cause.
And again, I think it's really good. I believe what you just said 100% in terms of the words of affirmation are just a reminder of the actual truth of who every human being is.
Yes.
And your sense of belonging. Kwa sababu just by the reason that God has created you and put you on this earth, there's a reason and there's a purpose for you to be here. It doesn't, una disability, una hichi wezi, hichi. Kuna kitu ambacho wewe unakiweza, kuna mtu mwingine hakiwezi. So you're always good enough to be on this earth.
Yeah.
You're always good enough to be on this earth. There's a reason why you've been placed on this earth. And usisikilize watu sana. Brother, you're never as good as what people say.
Yeah.
And you're never as bad as people say.
Yeah.
Everyone's just exaggerating stuff. Sababu no one anajua fulani. And tukishajua hizo vitu. When I say do the work as well, I mean ukisha decide what the problem is, ukajiambia, ukaiamini, now go do it.
Yes.
And act like it.
Yeah, take action.
Act like it. Ndio. Mimi, I'll tell you a true story. There was a room full of CEOs. I kid you not, I just went, oh, Lord, what is this? I went, sorry. I said, can I accompany you? I will not talk, but I just want to sit in that room. Why? Because I felt like I was unworthy. No. Like in the back of my mind, because then I'll really feel like it.
Yeah.
Like I'm a good on the spot person.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool, whatever. Like all I need to know is that I can sit in that room. I don't know when you corner. I was in
that room. Yeah.
I was in the room with Warren Buffett. I was in the room with Bill Gates. I was in the room. That was for me. Whether I was given something to do or not, my original thought was I was not enough to sit on that table because I can tell myself so much that what if I never get to sit on that table? What if I love Nadia's company. I see the way she talks to people, and I'm just like, I'm not good enough to. Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, baby, how are you doing?
And the worst that can happen,
Yeah.
they'll say no. You're not going to die out of it.
That's
Exactly.
the problem.
Yeah, the worst that can happen is...
If I miss that, oh my God, my world will just come tumbling down.
I always tell
is a
people
lie.
when it comes to job application...
It's always a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to job application, grabbing opportunities, applying scholarships and fellowships, going to meeting places, I'm like, all you can do is ask. The worst that can happen, the person will say no.
Absolutely.
And then what's going to happen when you get a no? You move on.
Yeah.
You do some other things. But then again, tunapenda kucomplicate vitu kama
Yeah.
down.
And I think it's simple in terms of the pattern of solving it, at least for me, is number one, you being able to be honest with yourself and knowing your weaknesses, knowing your trigger points, and then making or resolving to actually figuring out how to overcome it by understanding where did it come from, why is it there, how was it even placed there, and then asking yourself, what is the same question? What is the solution?
Yeah.
Why is that the solution? How can I implement that solution, and what is the outcome? The same reason ulivyokuja, I'm going to solve it the same way. Asking myself the same questions. In law, it's the same questions. I'm pretty sure when you're therapy, you have probably 5 questions. The what, when, why, where, how.
The firms that use in hedge.
Yeah.
Kwenye journalism.
Every
Journalism
solution
101.
can be found
Yeah.
within
With the
those
problem,
5
yeah.
The problem. And then from there on, you deal with it. You tell yourself what you are, who you are. If you rely on scripture, then good for you, even better.
Yeah.
If you believe in God, then even better as well. Unapojiambia, then you start picking yourself up. You act like it, you walk like it. Hata mtu akwambia, unaweza kuambia tu for no reason whatsoever. Man, I feel good. I feel good, man. I look good. I look good today. It's just telling yourself and conditioning yourself to always think good. Put yourself to be a person of value and not worthless, and never letting somebody destroy or diminish the value that you've set on yourself. Sio kwa kutokumwambia usiniongeleshe. People do that. Hey, don't bring that negative energy. No. It's not that. Bring it. It's okay. You bring it, I'll tell myself.
It's only negative because you perceive it
That's all.
as negative.
I think I saw another clip. Salma Hayek said something. If I cuss at you in Colombian,
Yeah,
you don't even know what I said.
exactly.
There's one ukacheka. I could cuss at your mother. Ukacheka. Oh my God, that's funny. Like in the moment I say it in English, it's a problem. Because
now umeelewa.
the words are the same. Hata kama umeelewa is because now you've put value and meaning
to it.
behind that word. So if you remove the value and meaning behind what the person says, then I think sometimes unajipa nafasi ya kuto carry so much burden, and you don't put yourself in a position that you need to prove to that person that you're not. Unajua, ukiniambia kitu mimi, I'm trying to prove to you that I'm not. I never try to prove to myself that I'm not. So that is the problem. Don't look to people. Because every single thing you do will be a reaction to what they said. So your reaction is trying to prove what they said is wrong, instead of sitting back, analyzing the situation, and responding so that your surroundings are just equal to the way you value yourself and the truth of what that is.
And the thing with that, so the more you try and prove to the other person, the more you are telling yourself that what they said is true. Because if it's something that isn't true, why am I bothered? Napita hapo nasema Nadia, wewe mbaya. I'm like, okay. Thank you. I know who I am.
Yeah.
I know what I am.
Yeah.
So your opinion, whatever negative comment or feedback, is not going to affect. It's going to bounce off, right? But the minute I'm affected by it, then there's something inside me that believes that is true.
Yes.
Or even if I don't believe it, but I sit there and I'm trying to explain to them, no, this is not true. Like, look at me. Teari, the minute I'm trying, the process of me convincing you, I'm convincing myself that actually the confidence you had before is actually false.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of argument focus natokea pia na watu. It's when you're so busy trying to prove a point, which eventually ends up proving the other person's point instead of proving your point, really. So it's really how we handle it.
And just one more thing, actually. A good example from my father, and I think if God blesses me with children, I think I'll try my best to do this. Teaching children the art of actually processing information and the reason why you're doing something.
Yes.
Right? Nakumbuka kwa sababu my father atakwambia tengeneza kitu. He'll never tell you how to do it. Hata kama ukitengeneza, wewe you have kutengeneza, atakuuliza sasa, why did you do that? Kwa nini umechomeka waya pale? Nani amekwambia uchomeke waya pale? Huna manual. Kwa nini umechomeka waya pale? It worked. It worked. But why did you do that? Umeona? And when I say that, I mean, mtoto wangu, I'll try and explain to them kwamba, look, the best way is having the right skill to process information and always make it about you and not the other person, and understanding who you are. Unajua ukimlezi mtoto kwamba he's this, you are, yeye anaanza kutembea kama they are. They start believing that they're smart, that they're beautiful, that they can accomplish anything, right? Kwa kitu kikija kwake, akiprocess and goes, wait, no, that doesn't align with who I am. It's okay. I've proved it a number of times. If I've lived for 30 years believing this, Michael kuja kuniambia one time, it doesn't shake me. In the same way, you can live 30 years knowing kwamba you're less than. Mtu akija kuambia mara moja,
one episode of men, it's not going to change.
It's not going to change
not.
anything. And a lot of men go into marriages and relationships with so much
baggage.
Let's use the word baggage.
Yeah. But it's okay. We use those words too on this point.
Trauma. Because it is consistent punching for a number of years that a wound has become a disability. Unajua? So you're coming in with not huija tena crutches, unakuja walking. Umesahau crutches kule nje kwamba you are able to walk if you just use your crutches. Like no, I cannot walk. So nitatamba mpaka pale. So when you get into a relationship, you're crawling. And then because you're crawling, mkiwa kujaribu kukunyanyua unaona kwamba oya, why are you being the crutch that I just left? I mean, umeshakubaliana with the way I am now. Why are you trying to be my crutch? And then now you start placing those things onto your wife, onto your children, and then that cycle continues. And not to get spiritual, I think the enemy or the devil loves that. He likes to keep people in circles. In cycles. Always. Hataki kutoka hapa. Ndio maana tunasemaga generational curses and generational trauma. it is because of the same thing. It is always passed on, you know. And if it's affirmations and good value, it's passed on through generations. So I think maybe it will start with me, but I don't think my parents did a bad job. I think a lot of parents did the best that they could.
Yes, they were good enough parents.
They were good enough parents. I think just the requisite skill in terms of processing information, their self-speed of processing information, it's just been a great mix of terrible communication, right? And verification. So
And it's important for us to always like good enough. Good enough means I can make mistakes.
oh, that's
But
powerful.
I'm good enough,
That's powerful.
right? I can learn a new skill. Like I'm good enough to be able to learn.
Learn a new skill. It might take 5 years.
Exactly, but I will learn it because I have the ability to do
Absolutely.
so. Right? And hata sisi leo hii wazazi wetu could have traumatized us however way they did. But if we see them and look at them as good enough parents, that they did what they could with the tools that they had and the knowledge that they had, then we return back the responsibility to ask kwamba, okay,
That is very
this is what I went through, sawa, lakini how do, like what you said, you know, we need to start accept that sawa, nimepitia hii.
Ishatokea bana.
Imeshatokea, right? Unaweza ukaangalia mzazi wa Michael ukasema, Michael's parents were so nice. Kumbe hujui what their weaknesses were.
Absolutely.
You just see the strengths. Whereas Michael anaangalia wazazi wangu anaona the strengths tu za wazazi wangu, haoni their weakness. So we are all looking outside, but actually hatujui undani wake. We only know our inside. So once we accept that this is the hand I was dealt, but my situation, my parents, my family that I grew up in is good enough,
Yes.
then once I've accepted that, I can then take actionable steps. I can take action that, okay, this is what I was dealt with. This is not how I want to live my life. So I commit to my actions. The situation doesn't change. Huwezi ukarudi ukabadilisha wazazi wako wawe sijui wa aina gani. You cannot. Na mpaka kesho watakuwa hivyo hivyo. You will not change them just by complaining about them or kuwasema or kuwakandamiza. You are not. You just need to accept that this is who they are. This is who I am. But I want to be better.
Yes.
So what do I need to do to be better? So I have acceptance, I have a plan, I'm taking action, and I'm committed to my action, not to my problem. If you commit to the problem, you will stay in the problem. You will continue to complain about the problem because you have married the problem.
Absolutely.
You married the problem,
You know?
Divorce is tough, brother.
Yes.
Divorce is extremely tough.
Divorce
is tough, long,
and now the problem is
very
giving rise
expensive.
to children. Now there's kids.
It becomes super costly.
It's a complicated problem now.
Absolutely.
You know, so committing to your actions, as Henry is saying, you commit, this is my insecurity, yes, but I commit to my action. My action is I want to learn this skill. I want to be comfortable sitting on this table.
Yes.
And I commit to that action, not to commit to the fear. Because if I commit to my fear, sitoingia kwenye hicho chumba na hiyo meza sitokaa. Hata nani aniambie Nadia unaweza kukaa hapo, mimi kwa sababu I've committed to my fear, or I've committed to my sense of I'm not good enough to sit on that table, I will never sit on it.
Absolutely.
Na hata nikikaa, my mind will be shut, and I will not take in anything on that table.
Absolutely. That's powerful.
That's powerful. Like literally, I have nothing to add on that one. Anything you want to add to top it up?
Stop marrying the problem.
Stop marrying the problem, man.
Yeah, don't marry the problem.
Don't marry the insecurities. Don't marry with insecurities. Is that the right word? No.
No, don't marry your insecurities.
Don't marry your insecurity.
Because once you marry them and then I go off and marry Henry, I'm not really married to Henry. I'm married to my insecurities.
Yeah, you are.
And I will analyze everything Henry does for us, for me, for himself.
Absolutely. In light of
my insecurities.
And this is why I always say, people, please try to do therapy. And this is why Nadia charges what she charges, which is affordable, I think, I hope. Like, point to the kwamba, this is why we need to unpack. This is why we need to unlearn. This is why we do this podcast. This is why we have this kind of conversation.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Just sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
She said something very powerful towards the beginning. Toxic masculinity has pushed us men to a point whereby we don't talk about anything. Toxic femininity, on the other hand, has pushed women to a place where they dwell on the problem. We don't talk, women dwell. Umeona kitu? Ukiangalia zote hizo mbili, hakuna solution hapo.
Yeah, and this is why I think we need a whole other show.
So it's-
Toxic masculinity versus toxic femininity for men.
And I've never thought of that. So when she spoke it, I was
Shout
like,
out to Nadia for that. Thank you. She drove the point home.
and she's a therapist. I'm like, no, that's credible too.
It is credible.
Somebody can say, oh, maybe come on with it. They'll be like,
Yeah, unatetea.
toxic
Yeah,
masculinity. Oh, wanataka kunani.
Yeah.
But it's a reality.
It is.
It exists, and you get to see the problem. And when a father or men transfer toxic masculinity to another man, to a boy who eventually becomes a man, unakuta mtu ana deal with the providing solutions whereby the problems are never sorted. Tuko hivi. Kwa maana wanaume wengi ndio wanakufaga mapema.
Yeah.
Sasa now imagine you and your toxic masculinity unakutana na toxic
mwanamke yupo
Femininity.
and
Yani,
then
it's like-
mnaungana pamoja.
I was having this
Opposite
conversation with a
poles.
friend. Nikasema, could that be a reason why so many relationships now are bound to fail? That's for another
episode.
Nisikachokonoa vitu.
But we should talk about it, and we will.
absolutely.
We will. We
Absolutely.
definitely need to address that. Henry, thank you for coming through, my
No,
guy.
thank you,
This
man,
has
for the
been a very
opportunity.
dope conversation,
Thank
and honestly, it has gone down a different direction.
Yeah. No, that's the beauty of it. When there's no script.
And
You know.
Beauty of
and for me,
conversation.
I had questions planned out, insecurity, but I love how we've actually dissected it now. It made it such a case. Whoever listens now,
Right.
they can pick up na kuendelea na conversation na watu wengine. Probably kuna some stuff we've left out.
Yeah,
Probably
absolutely.
kuna some stuff hujakubaliana nacho.
Yeah.
Completely cool. And that's the power of the conversation. You don't have to agree with anything about it.
And we wouldn't want you to. You have your own mind.
Yeah.
Sio
we're
kasema,
all-
kwenye podcast wasema hivi. No, these are opinions.
Take
bro.
it in and analyze it for yourself and see if it resonates for you and see if you can add value to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My brother, thank you for keeping it
adding
real.
value.
Adding value. Thank you for
That's,
keeping it real, bro.
Yeah.
Thank
No,
you,
thank you.
thank you. I keep saying, guys, go check out the podcast of What If We Keep It Real. Dope podcast.
And keep tuning into the Men podcast. Dope.
Shout out to Henry for that. Yeah, Henry Sondo.
You did 5 dopes? I gave you an extra, the second
You
one.
know?
By the way, Henry Twitter is Henry Sondo. He's not super active, and I understand about Twitter. can be
There's a reason
toxic
why.
too. I totally get it.
Yeah.
I understand. One of the things I'm working on right now, and I fail it through and through,
Yeah.
is kujaribu kutumia, limit the time I spend on that social media. That social network.
Number of
It can be
characters,
really toxic.
number of characters is a problem. Hiding behind a keyboard is a problem.
Yeah.
When you can't face someone is a problem. You're an expert in everything. So I try not to indulge as much. You know.
You're doing this. You're doing the right
Yeah.
thing. Trust me. You're not missing anything. You're absolutely.
Well, there's some afternoons when you scroll and you're like, okay, I've been missing a lot. this is interesting. Like any app, of course.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for that. Nadia at Mind Matters TZ on Twitter, Mind Matters TZ on Instagram. Like I said, go to the bio. There's the link to the website. Find out what she does, and then unaweza kuwasiliana naye huko. Narudia tena, hata ukinifuata DM, I'll tell you the same thing. You know, kwamba waulize walionifuata. I don't want to mention names, but I do the same thing ambacho
Right.
nimewaambia sasa hivi. So that's the best way ya kuweza kuwasiliana naye.
Therapy is good.
Therapy is good, man.
And now you know someone who's good at it.
Yeah.
Nadia, resident psychologist.
Copyright.
So,
You should be a copywriter too. Nadia, now you know who to hire for you.
You know?
so yeah. No, thank you.
Copywriting
Thank you so much.
and whatever. Yeah.
And I've learned a lot too. So thank
Yeah.
you guys as well.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
This
We
was
always
great.
get gems.
Yeah.
Men, the podcast.